Is this a case of a church protecting a molester, reinstating full honors to a priest who, by his own admission, was a molester, and now, as it turns out in an investigation, was a serial offender? A shocking case has come to light where an Indian priest who pleaded guilty last year of molesting a minor in the United States has been rehabilitated by the Vatican in a church in Tamil Nadu. The disturbing case has taken an even more explosive color now, with the complainant, an American woman named Megan Peterson, who was allegedly raped by Father Jeyapaul when she was just 14, has sued the Indian church and claimed damages. Megan Peterson has claimed she feels abused, degraded, and re-victimized all over again. Very strong words being used by Megan Peterson there. Now, while the Uttakamun church in Tamil Nadu has remained silent so far, Megan Peterson herself has spoken exclusively to India Today, putting forth her terrifying tale. In fact, we have the rape survivor, Megan Peterson, live with us on phone from New York. Megan, first of all, if you could tell us, what is your concern at this moment all about?
We are bringing a public nuisance suit against the bishop in India because he has decided to reinstate an admitted offending priest, Father Joseph Jeyapaul. So the suit is aimed to get Father Jeyapaul out of ministry and to protect children in India.
Megan, are you worried that he might also make other children victim in this country? Because, by his own admission, not by anyone else, this appears to be a case of a person who's a repeat offender, a serial offender.
Absolutely. It's a well-known fact that perpetrators or sexual molesters generally don't stop at one victim. In fact, there's multiple here just from his short stay in Minnesota. So without a doubt, children are at risk and would be wounded by Father Joseph Jeyapaul.
Now, in just a short while, in fact, we'll be speaking to your attorney, Jeff, and it seems to be that his position in the past has been that Joseph Jeyapaul was not only molesting you, but other children also at that point. Is that true?
I am not in contact with them. They've remained anonymous, which is absolutely the right thing to do as well. I'm the only one that is speaking out as a survivor of Father Joseph Jeyapaul.
Now, Megan, I understand it's incredibly tough for anyone to talk on an issue. It's like, in your own words, as you said in the past, it's like being re-victimized. Now, but can I perhaps ask you, or may I know, what would Joseph Jeyapaul would say to you? Did he threaten you?
Father Jeyapaul was a very manipulative and violent person that used his collar and my faith in the church to gain access to me. So most of the abuse occurred just because of my absolute trust within the priesthood and within the Catholic Church. And Father Jeyapaul was often violent, as in using threats against my life and my family's life to get me to cooperate with him.
Megan, when did you know that he's been reinstated as a priest? Because I think what has irked and irritated you more is the fact that he's been reinstated.
Father Jeyapaul was a very manipulative and violent person that used his collar and my faith in the church to gain access to me. So most of the abuse occurred just because of my absolute trust within the priesthood and within the Catholic Church. And Father Jeyapaul was often violent, as in using threats against my life and my family's life to get me to cooperate with him.
Are you in contact with the Vatican on this issue?
He was convicted he pled guilty in May of 2015 and was convicted in June of 2015.
How do you see the step of the bishop?
I believe I got notice in the beginning of February that the bishop had decided to reinstate him into the priesthood. And this wasn't even a full year after this man pled guilty and explained what he had did to the other victim. I mean, it's ridiculous in my mind that they're even trying to re-enter him into the priesthood.
I can imagine that it must be devastating for you at this moment, Megan Peterson, but many thanks for speaking to India Today at this moment. It's a very difficult situation for anyone to speak out about these things, because these incidents are only, in your own words, they sort of victimize a person, and takes great courage to talk about it. Thanks very much, Megan Peterson, for joining us here on India Today. In just a short moment, we'll be going live to Megan Peterson's lawyer, Counsel Jeff, in just a short moment from now. Let's quickly go across to Akshaya Nath, who joins us from Chennai. Akshaya, what have you heard from the various authorities as far as churches are concerned? The organization that actually reinstated him, were they not aware of the past and the fact that now it is increasingly clear that here is a person who was a serial offender, and in one case, as we now know by his own confession, a serial sexual offender of children? I don't know whether we can use this word or not, but if this is by his own admission, then this is pedophile.
Sanket, the Ooty diocese where Father Jeyapaul is said to be staying has not divulged the details of where he is, what he is doing. The media, like us, India Today, has been trying to reach him for the last 24 hours or more, and the Ooty diocese has refused to tell us where Father Jeyapaul is. And also Bishop A. Amalraj, who was the person who has reinstated Father Jeyapaul with the permission of the Catholic bishops in the Rome, they haven't yet been able to give us any details about where Father Jeyapaul is and why and how do they take a person with such serious sexual offense into the diocese back and also give him a power. The Ooty diocese people whom we have been talking to, the spokespersons whom we have been talking to, have been repeatedly telling us that they cannot give any details about what is happening, and they've also assured that right now Father Jeyapaul is not holding any post, but the clarity on that is still not there properly, Sanket.
Are you saying that the church body is now saying that as far as they are concerned, he's not holding any post? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, right. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Father Jeyapaul is there in Ooty diocese, but his residence or where he's staying is not being divulged. The information is not being given to the media, but the spokesperson whom we had contacted a little while ago told us that they were not aware about the history of the sexual offense, and that he's not holding a post right now, and they're not ready to speak about it to the media at the moment.
Akshaya, I don't believe this. Let me quickly get in Shiv at this moment. Shiv, as far as this story is concerned, Akshaya says that this body, the religious body, the church says we are not aware of his past. They have to be blind or absolutely blindfolded to know that there is a case where by his own admission, this person is a repeat sexual offender. You have to be blind to not know this.
It's impossible that they don't know about the antecedents of Father Jeyapaul. You're absolutely right, Sanket, on that point, because at this point of time, what we do know is that the Catholic Church has reinstated him after he has confessed, pleaded guilty to a sexual offense against a minor. This was a few years ago, but he made that plea just last year. So in anybody's book, that should have meant that he was off the books as far as the Catholic Church is concerned. But what we do know now, through the facts that have come out in this lawsuit, the reports that have come out, is that he's been reinstated in the Ooty diocese in Tamil Nadu. Now, for the Ooty diocese, they've not, remember, we'd like to tell both both sides of the story here on India Today, and we are not pointing fingers directly at anyone. But for the Ooty Diocese, Sanket, to say that they don't know about the antecedents or history of Father Joseph Jeyapaul, sounds like a blatant lie. It's impossible because, the information, antecedents, the history, the past, the record of all priests is taken extremely seriously. There has been a huge spotlight, on molester priests all around the world. There was an Oscar-winning film this year called Spotlight in the United States that focused on child sexual abuse, by several priests of the Catholic Church. This is not something that, people don't know about. This is something that people are aware about. It has been scandalous in churches across the world. This time, it's about silence. It's about the Ooty Diocese not coming forward and providing any information. The only thing we know that they're saying right now is we don't know about his past. But what we can also confirm through our sources, Sanket, is that they are consulting their lawyers, because this is a lawsuit that's been filed against them, claiming damages, or to almost $100,000. So the Ooty Diocese has no choice but to consult lawyers and take legal recourse to see where this actually will go, because this means trouble for them. Forget about the perceptual damage. Forget about the bad publicity. This is a legal case that they will have to fight now.
Absolutely, a legal criminal case at this moment, which the diocese will have to look into. And also, as Shiv said, even perception matters. What is the sort of message that this Tamil Nadu church is trying to send, that if you have a father who's accused, not just accused, convicted by his own admission that yes, he molested or sexually offended a minor, not even a major, a minor. This is a huge crime by his own admission. When you reinstate a person like that and then say we are unaware, smacks of absolute, not just ignorance, but criminal intent. We'll keep tracking the story. In fact, at this moment, Shiv and Akshaya, do stay on with us. We also have Jeff Anderson, the attorney of Megan Peterson, live with us. Jeff, what is this case all about at this moment, this legal case that you are pursuing at this moment?
Well, the case is really about Father Joseph Jeyapaul, a convicted priest, predator priest from India, who has been convicted in the States of having sexually abused a child, raped another child, and after having worked as a priest in the US, in Minnesota, and having raped 2 children, was returned to India. And we recently learned that the bishop in India, in Uttarakhand, returned the priest with the permission of Pope Francis. Pope Francis gave permission to return this priest, Joseph Jeyapaul, a convicted sexual offender, to ministry around children.
And obviously that has, your client in this particular case, Megan Peterson, quite distraught. Now, have you also consulted the Vatican in this case?
We alerted the Vatican that this was a serious problem, and we sued the bishop and the diocese in Uttarakhand, for nuisance in its decision. They issued a release there that the Vatican gave permission to return him to ministry.
Now, many people would want to know about the position that is there in Christianity, the religion, about such a case. I mean, it is a criminal case, to say the least. Here you have a reinstatement which has outraged your client, but what does Christianity, if we were to go by that, because he seems to be pardoned by the Vatican, what does Christianity have to say about this case?
Well, there is a promise that the Pope made, Pope Francis made. And his promise to the people worldwide was that they will not return child molesters to ministry or allow bishops to cover it up. in this case, Pope Francis is permitting a convicted child molester to be in ministry around kids and permitting the bishop to enable that. And it is thus a break of the pledge that the Pope has made. So it's not only a moral violation, not only a betrayal of trust, but a breaking of the promise that the Pope has made to the people worldwide. So this is the first time in 30 years in this work, and even most recently, that any bishop and the Pope have been so audacious to allow a convicted child molester to be around kids. The other feature that makes this so alarming and shocking is I have a letter from 500 people in the diocese in India saying they believe him to be innocent and they trust him and asking us to withdraw the charges against him. And they don't know how dangerous he is, how cunning he is. And so that compounds our alarm and concern for all those kids in India, in that diocese, that don't know. And it's the bishop's job and the Pope's job to not let him be in ministry.
That's right, Jeff. You filed a case in the United States. Do you feel this will implicate for crime in India?
Yes, we do feel that filing the case here can put enough pressure on the bishop and the Vatican and get a court to order them to not allow him in ministry, and then we will use the international law to try to enforce the judgment that we get against the bishop that should apply to the Vatican and to the bishop there. Can we do that? We know we need to. Should we do that? Yes. And it is our job and our imperative, and Megan Peterson's, one of the victims who we represent here, to make sure that the kids in India are safe and the community there in India is alerted to the real danger that the bishop has made by this choice, and that this priest, Joseph Jeyapaul, poses to that community.
You know, Jeff, this particular case is going to have far-reaching implications, I hope you're aware, as far as India is concerned. A lot of people might talk about this, will take this matter up. Now, did Megan Peterson come to you to pursue this particular matter, or did you take it suo moto?
I am the lawyer doing it, and I'm doing it with Megan Peterson. And when you ask the question, can we do it? The real answer to that question, or the real question is we shouldn't have to do it. But right now, she's the only one that's willing to speak for those kids, and we're speaking with her because we are deeply alarmed that there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of kids at risk in India right now by these reckless and dangerous practices that the Pope is allowing and that the bishop is doing.
Jeff Anderson, many thanks for joining us. Jeff Anderson speaking exclusively to India Today, the lawyer representing Megan Peterson, who alleged sexual molestation by Father Joseph Jeyapaul when she was all of 14. This was way back in 2004. Now, this father, who by his own admission did indulge in acts of sexual abuse, has now been reinstated, and that has come to the absolute outrage of Megan Peterson, and this is an explosive scandal that has hit Indian church. Let's quickly go across to Shiv Arur at this moment. Shiv, what are the possible reactions that one can get to see as far as a story like this is concerned? This is not for the first time we have seen that a religious head has been involved in a sexual misconduct. Here in this case, I feel what is a bigger point of outrage, as Jeff Anderson mentioned, is the fact that you have a sort of a khap panchayat in the Vatican, which is ready to, absolve charges away from the father just because they've come and confessed.
You're absolutely right, Sanket, and I think that analogy really hits the nail on the head. It's a small group of people deciding where priests are reinstated, whether they will be rehabilitated, and taking no view really on their antecedents. I think the important thing to note here, Sanket, and you really mentioned that, is this is a truly international story. We're talking about a small diocese, in Tamil Nadu at this point of time, in Ooty, in the hills. But the real story here is this has international ramifications. It involves the Vatican. It involves, the authorities inside the Vatican, hugely powerful authorities in the Vatican, which have powers, to reinstate, appoint, rehabilitate, protect, and shield priests, even if they have, disturbing antecedents, like Father Jeyapaul, who pleaded guilty last year to sexually abusing a minor child in the United States. This is a story that goes far beyond India's shores, and that's one of the reasons why, if you look it up on the web right now, Sanket, like we've been doing as well, this is a story that is making headlines, across the United States as well. And it's not only because Megan Peterson happens to be a US citizen. It is because stories like this have cropped up in countries across the world. They've been, under a spotlight in the United States. That's the reason why that movie was even made. It's a story that has affected, thousands of lives across the country. Many of them have led to convictions. Many of them remain in the realm of allegations and, stories and hearsay. But the simple fact is, here you've got an American citizen, an American woman who is spending her own money on a lawsuit, a transcontinental lawsuit, which can't be an easy thing, against an Indian priest who is allegedly being reinstated by a church in South India. And that's why it has international ramifications.
Absolutely. It has international ramifications at this moment on this story. We are getting huge traction as far as this story is concerned online, where a lot of people are expressing their concern as well as outrage. This is a genuine case of where you, the citizen, must be outraged. Can we allow something like this to happen in our country? We'll keep tracking the story with greater detail and get you all the latest reactions. Time now for a short break.
News that is coming in the bulletin. Vijay Mallya has refused to divulge details of overseas assets to the consortium of banks that filed the case against him. Mallya has filed an affidavit.
In a sense, did not reflect the true Indian cultural ethos, did not represent our plurality. But do you believe that Asauddin Owaisi, because he said